join me in welcoming Addison.
Good afternoon. There's a common parable that I'm sure most of you have heard. The grass. Okay. Hey, don't complain, okay? All right. Hi, guys. I'm back. But there is a common parable that I'm sure most of you have heard. The grass is always greener on the other side. Most people believe this to be true, and believe this to say when people are dissatisfied with their lives. I think there's been an increase in dissatisfaction and complaining, which is what I want to talk to you about today. Complaining has become so increased in society that it's even become normalized. So normalized, in fact, that we fail to realize its true harm. I remember not too long ago coming home after a really long day. I had been having lots of long days. I finally couldn't take it anymore. I sat down and talked about the miserable life I led. I made so many errors in rehearsal. My math teacher was giving me too much homework, and my coach was on my case, and you should have seen my friends at lunch. They're so annoying. But I realized I was in this cycle. I was in this cycle of not just venting, expressing my emotions, I was complaining. I was coming home day after going to things that I loved, things I chose to be a part of, and yet I was expressing dissatisfaction. I was not becoming any happier. I was not making progress, and I was not achieving this greener grass I so desired. Many of you can probably relate to this. There are people out here with schedules far busier than mine and academic struggles I could surely never bear. And let me clarify, I do not say this today that the solution to all of your problems is to just be happy. That's unattainable and not healthy. In fact, expressing emotions like dissatisfaction, sadness, anger, fear, they're good for you. And when you feel these things, talking about them is the healthy choice. No, today I'm talking about the dangers of complaining, which the definition I say is the repeated internal or verbal expression of dissatisfaction without ever seeking meaningful change. And sure, I'm glad that most of you are thinking, okay, we know complaining is bad, we know it hurts your mental health and your internal expression of yourself. But what if I told you that there's something unseen about complaining, more than meets the eye? What if I told you that there's scientific, physical dangers to complaining that show that complaining is not only irritating, but actually dangerous? The physical dangers that come along with complaining are numerous. In fact, there's a study done by Stanford Institute that shows that your brain matter literally shrinks when you complain. Your hippocampus, a section of your brain that's in charge of short-term and long-term memory, can shrink in physical size with just 30 minutes of complaining a day. Losing any piece of that can be detrimental to your long-term health. If that's not enough evidence for you, complaining can literally kill you. It sounds dramatic, and I'm not saying you're going to die because you told your neighbor you're tired of school. But I am saying that the Harvard Behavioral and Science Health Institute showed a study over a long term of time, and that a lower degree of optimism is associated with a higher degree of mortality. The stress and symptoms that come with complaining are enough to shave years off your life. This can be due to the physical effects that come when you release chemicals in your brain. When you complain, you're associated with releasing a chemical called cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone, or your fight and flight response. Too much cortisol in your brain can be associated with physical damages like high blood pressure or blood sugar, muscle fatigue, headaches, tiredness, lack of sleep, anxiety, depression, and even heart exhaustion. All of this added up together can be really detrimental if you want to survive well. But I think the biggest issue to complaining is the addictive cycle. You see, your brain has something that I like to call neuroplasticity. And when I say I mean scientists. Neuroplasticity is the term of your ability to reorganize itself and change. When your brain is connected with a series of neurons. Neurons are the pathways in your brain that send signals to each other. Whenever you want to move, think, breathe, and just activate your body, your neurons are sending messages in between themselves. So when you send out a chemical like cortisol that is actively happening, forming a connection, and it kind of works like a muscle. That connection grows stronger over time. Just like when you work out, your muscle gets stronger the more you use it. When you use a certain section of your brain, that grows stronger too. Okay, you're probably thinking, great, Addie, I just learned how my brain brains. I came here to get out of class, not learn new stuff. But this is really important because it can build habits, and complaining can easily become a habit you don't want to draw into. You see, the cortisol that gets released becomes a trigger memory. Your brain can register it as important. The more you complain, the more your brain thinks it's a necessity to your life. And if complaining becomes a necessity to your life, it can actually become your new normal. Meaning that when you're in situations that might be hard or challenging, it's hard to ever think positively because you're so used to complaining that that's your new internal period. Complaining doesn't seem weird. It doesn't seem odd to ever think negatively about something because that's what you're supposed to do, according to your brain chemistry anyways. Neuroplasticity changes your brain matter. It changes it to shape around a way that can make complaining the normal in your life. But not all hope is lost. There's an easy fix to this, something that might seem obvious, but actually is quite simple and should be implied. Gratitude. Gratitude works the exact same way as complaining, but with an opposite effect. When you express gratitude, you are also sending chemicals in your brain. You are sending chemicals like serotonin and dopamine instead of cortisol or norepinephrine. Serotonin and dopamine are like your happy hormones. You know, the dopamine hit you get when you're scrolling on Instagram Reels, you can get that other ways too. But seriously, practicing gratitude can actually add years to your life, not subtract them like complaining does. A study done at the Harvard Nurse Health Institute did a case study over a long series of time. That basically means they got a bunch of individuals, asked them questions yearly about their optimism levels and their gratitude levels. At the end of this case studies, they found that gratitude protects against every major cause of death studied. So something just as simple as saying thank you can add years onto your life. And not only is gratitude the most scientific way to combat complaining, it actually is the easiest. All it takes is 4 minutes of your day. It doesn't even have to be that long to shoot a thank you text or write a note to someone. In fact, I actually had this implemented in my life with the help of my AP Psych teacher. Every week, she made me write down on her Thankful Thursdays something I was grateful for. What started off as a really annoying exercise that seemed to have no real value, sorry, Miss Johnson, it actually became a really great part of my life because I realized there was always more to write down than I initially thought. And the real talk is, another example to compare of complaining and gratitude is the use of alcohol. That might seem like a weird comparison, but it's true. Alcohol can be an addictive substance, just like complaining and just like gratitude can be. And the difference of your tolerance levels is very true. So somebody that that drinks alcohol often is going to be able to handle more alcohol than someone who never drinks. Somebody who complains more often will handle more complaining than somebody who practices gratitude more often. They have a higher threshold for gratitude. So it's all about you put in what you practice. Because here is the honest truth. The grass probably is greener on the other side. There's going to be things that you long to have, things that you think your life would be better with. But when you complain, you're not making your own grass any greener. All you're doing is sitting inside this little metaphorical house, staring out the window, longing for what you could have. You're making your friends feel worse. They're all around your kitchen table and you're talking about all the negativity in your life, looking at all the lawns you wish you could have. But it's so easy to implement gratitude instead. To go out and get a watering can and water your lawn. You can make a difference in the things you want. The things you complain that are hard and difficult, you can change those. You can make the effort to make your life greener, to have a prettier lawn. So my encouragement to you today is quit the complaining cycle. It's all up to you. And now that you know not only the emotional damage it causes, but also the physical one, you know what to do to be able to save your body, to be able to live a longer, healthier, and happier life with a greener grass that you so desire. It might sound simple, and that's because it is. Complaining doesn't have to be this cycle that you got yourself stuck into. You can easily release yourself and create a new habit, a new neuroplasticity around being thankful, around being positive. It changes with your thoughts and with your words and with your desire for greener grass. So thank you.